Shavua Tov G'tavach. We are learning Mishna Sotah, Parakeh, Chapter 5, Mishnah Aleph, Mishnah 1. Keshem Shamayim Baitkin Isa. The same way that the waters test her. Kach Hamayim Baitkin Isai. So too the waters test him. Who's him? The adulterer. Meaning whatever is going to happen to her is going to happen to him. No matter where he is, it's going to happen to him also. As they say here, wherever the adulterer happens to be, he will die at the same time and in the same way as the Sotah. How do we know that? Shenamar, as it states, Uba'u, Uba'u. The Torah says the words, Uba'u, Uba'u, they will come, they will come. Now, let me read to you here from the bottom the explanation to this. The word Uba'u and the waters shall come appears 3 times in the Torah's passage about the Sotah. The first teaches that God gave the bitter water the power to kill the Sotah. That's Uba'u, and they'll come in and take care of it. The second promises that the Jewish people at the water will act as described. That's the second time it says. And the third tells us that the water will strike her belly first and then her thigh. So each time the word "they will come" appears, it has a purpose. The drasha, though, that this derivation that we make comes from the fact that each time the word appears, it has a letter vav, which means and at the beginning. These 3 letters were added to teach that just as the 3 previous points apply to the Sotah, so too do they apply to her partner. And, meaning there is something else, and that is not only are these things that they will come, that the Torah says explicitly regarding the woman, only happen to the woman. There's somebody else that's also going to be happening to, which is the adulterer. That's the first part. Next, and now again, it's important to focus, important to keep in mind regarding this part of the Mishnah that the derivation, the drasha, is coming from the extra vav. Now, kashem sha'asur labal, kach asur labayal. The same way the Sotah is forbidden to her husband, she's also forbidden to the adulterer. And what that means is that we know that until she drinks the waters, she is forbidden to her husband. Husband warned her, she went to seclusion, not to go to seclusion, she went anyway. She becomes forbidden until she drinks the waters and is proven innocent. Now, so we say the same as she is forbidden to her husband, she's forbidden to the adulterer, meaning the person she went to seclusion with, she's forbidden to him also, which would mean that if the way I understand it is, which would mean that if the husband were to die before he gave her the drink, I mean, I have to be honest, I'm not 100% sure about this, but it would seem to me that if we're saying the halacha is she's forbidden to her husband, she's forbidden to the adulterer. Now, if let's say she drank the water and she was innocent, and then her husband dies, can she marry the guy who she went to seclusion with? She didn't do anything wrong. She was proven innocent. Yeah, she went to seclusion, that's for sure not. But she's back, but after she drinks the water and nothing happens, she's innocent, she can go back to her husband. So it seemed to me that if the husband were to die to divorce her, she could marry this guy too. And that when we say here, when this Mishnah says that the same way she's forbidden to her husband, she's forbidden to the adulterer, that means, as they explain, just as the Sotah is prohibited to her husband until she drinks the bitter water and is proven innocent, so is she prohibited to the adulterer. Thus, even if her husband dies or divorces her before he gives her the drink, that's my understanding. He never gave her the drink, so nothing was ever proven. She died when he died, they were in a state that they could not be married. They cannot be married. They cannot be together anymore. And now he dies or he divorces her. He doesn't give her a drink and he divorces her. She's free to remarry, right? She's not bound to this husband anymore. She can remarry, but she can't marry this guy. Because the same way she was usher to the husband, she's usher to the adulterer or potential or possible adulterer. Okay? Shenamar, again, how do we derive that? Nitma'a v'nitma'a. The words nitma'a, she became impure. It says it twice, and then the second time there is a vav. And therefore the vav, that extra vav, is teaching us that there is something else. Not only do the laws of her impurity, of her being forbidden, of her being considered a Sotah, not only does that apply to the husband, it applies also to the adulterer. And as I explain here, that is instead of saying the word about, it says became defiled and became defiled. Those are words in the section of the Torah discussing the Sotah. And instead of saying the word without a vav, the Torah adds a vav. And to teach us that she is forbidden to the adulterer. Divrei Rabbi Akiva, these are the words of Rabbi Akiva. That means Rabbi Akiva was ready to make derivations from the extra letter vav. Amar Rabbi Yeshua said, a support for Rabbi Akiva's approach was the fact that Zechariah ben Akatzev also derived the same way these laws. He interpreted the verses the same way, that through the extra vav, you can make these derivations. Rabbi said, Rabbi being Yehuda Hanasi, Rabbi Judah the Prince, he says no. His point is you did not darshan from extra vav. He was not of the opinion that you can make these kinds of derivations from an extra vav. But rather, Shnei Pa'amim Amurim B'Parsha, the fact that it says it twice in the Parsha, in that section, in Nitma, if she became impure, she became impure. The fact that it says it twice, that teaches us that her status of impurity is not only to the husband, but it's also to the adulterer. So he learns from the fact that the word nitma'a is extra, didn't have to say it twice. Now that it says it twice, it teaches us that the impurity applies not only to her husband, but also to the adulterer. Which, because again, he doesn't darshan, he doesn't derive from the extra vav. But if so, what about the first part of the Mishnah, where Rabbi Akiva had derived from the extra vav that the same, whatever happens to her, happens to the adulterer? How's he going to know that? If he doesn't derive from the extra vav, how's he going to know that? So here on the bottom, they bring down that Rebbe's source for that law, meaning to the law that whatever happens to her happens to him, is stated in the Gemara over there. The Gemara tells us how he derives it. So it's not like there's an argument here in any sense of the discussion, the points, the halachas, the laws of the Mishnah, but it's an argument exactly how to derive them from the words of the Torah. Have a wonderful day. Shavua tov v'gatavach.
Thank you, Rabbi.